And the myth, the legend himself. I don't know how to put this, but Mike Scarborough joining us. Mike, what's up, buddy?
Just doing good, man. Just now that spring football's over with, kind of running around doing honeydews and things that have been put off for a couple of months. I wouldn't want anybody to have come to the house the last month to visit because it had been clean, that's for sure. Now it is.
What TV shows have you had to catch up on? Better Call Saul, Moon Knight. What else have you had to catch up on?
Well, I don't want to spoil Better Call Saul, but that was an episode last night.
Okay, well, I'm catching up. I'm trying my hardest. The Golden Boot Podcast says, shout out to Mike Scarborough. Absolutely. They love you, Mike. They adore you.
Yeah, no, I watched some of their shows Sunday night. Last couple of Sunday nights I've watched, and those guys do a great job.
I agree. Mike, I appreciate you joining us. You can follow him on Twitter at Scarborough Mike. We'll let you know how to get all the stuff on Tiger Bait. Mike, as long as I've been covering LSU, now this goes back 2018, okay, so not very long. I don't ever remember a spring game that had that many recruits on the sidelines. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed like the event this weekend was massive for recruits, LSU, Brian Kelly. Mike, is this the biggest thing that we've had in a long time recruiting-wise?
I don't know that it was any bigger than normal. I think probably certainly the previous 2 years with COVID, yeah. But it seemed probably about right. But I think probably what is really impressive is the number of out-of-state kids. And so you've got a lot of people that cover recruiting and LSU fans that are, maybe wringing their hands a little bit or getting a little worried about where's the Louisiana focus. And really, it's one of those deals we're going to be watching here throughout the spring evaluation period and through June. Is there some new names, some new guys that the staff has uncovered? There's no doubt in my mind that as they're all out right now, and we've seen Poley in the last 2 days talking about all the places he's hitting in East Texas, and they're all out. So there's going to be a lot of kids while they're out. They're going to be, particularly a guy like Poley. Maybe he sees a DB he likes at his school, and, whether Cooks or Steeples likes him, he doesn't know, but he's probably darn sure trying to convince that young man through his coach for him to come to camp in June. And so June's going to be very big for this staff, the first year that they get to conduct June camps. And certainly right before I came on with you, big news with Nick Brissett joining Brian Kelly's staff. So I think that's something nice that he's going to be like a high school liaison, which was Baglio's old job. I don't know if the job description is the same, but Nick has always been one of those big personality kids. So I think that's a really nice addition for Brian Kelly. But I just think everything that we saw in the spring between what was on the field and recruiting gives a lot of reason for LSU fans to be upbeat, excited, hopeful, whatever words you want to use.
Dante Moore, the 5-star quarterback. Now, I don't want you, because I know you just published a story on TigerBait.com, so I don't.
And I have more coming tomorrow.
Okay. Outside of the story, what are some things you can tell us about Dante Moore? Obviously, he was the biggest. Joe Burrow and him with the picture. I mean, Mike, that's a pretty big deal. What can you tell us about his visit and maybe where LSU sits right now with him?
I think LSU is positioned very, very well for him right now. And he's certainly got all the other schools that have been involved with him very nervous. I thought that before the weekend. And look, there's no denying. First of all, whenever Brian Kelly is involved, and there's parents and coaches along with the recruit, that is as much of the battle as whether the kid enjoyed the food or meeting a former player.
Right.
No one ever, we talk about this recruiting stuff, but it's very rare that we talk about the interaction between the head coach, the position coach, and parents. Mm-hmm. And that factor, because you can have a kid focusing on one thing, but on his way home after the trip, you've got a parent in his ear that was focused on many other different things. And then there's no doubt about it that a young man might like a particular school, but he always wants a parent to have enjoyed the visit as much as they did. And so, but having said that, they're still denying if you're a defensive back and you're getting to take pictures with Tyrann Mathieu, if you're a quarterback and you're meeting Joe Burrow, if you're a receiver and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson are there, and on and on. That whole 2019 contingent that was there on the sideline, those guys are rock stars all over the country. Clyde,
go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the works.
You know what it felt like to me, and just kind of putting some, just randomly talking to some high school coaches, is it felt like to me that it sent a message to everybody that those guys have Brian Kelly's back a little, right? Like, hey, how did he pull that off? Like, what happened there? Well, everybody's gone, so who called Joe Burrow? It's like, it's kind of the funny little things in the midst there. But
you know what really is really telling about that to me? I kept, and you could probably see, look at my arm, look at the sunburn. I mean, dude, it's like, what an idiot.
Trying to show your guns off. Don't lie.
No, it's like, I'm the guy that goes out there and says, I don't need any sunscreen. And then, next thing I know, I'm going to be an MD Anderson. Joe Burrow didn't want any publicity. I kept waiting with the sunburn. I was going to go up to the press box for the rest of the game, but I stayed down on the field because I kept thinking at some point Joe Burrow's going to get introduced and they're all going to wave all those former players, and it never materialized. And it was, so Burrow was there because he wanted to visit. He wasn't there because he wanted to hear LSU fans cheer for him. Mm-hmm. And so that just is more of folklore that goes with Joe Burrow and the kind of person he is.
Mike Scarborough from TigerBait.com is our guest. Mike, a little bit more about recruiting. I want to get your take on this team. It seems as if that Brian Kelly is attacking that the guys he maybe have already evaluated, right? Like, it seems like you're getting more traction from the out-of-state guys and they want to go in-state. Am I reading that right? Like, maybe Brian Kelly knew about Yates. Maybe he knew about Doherty at Georgia. But now he seems like there's a little bit more focus to in-state kids. Am I reading that wrong, or is that something that may be happening?
I don't know. That could be part of it. Each one of those guys coming from different areas, different schools, had a board that they were working at their previous employer. And so that's the low-hanging fruit. And then, of course, Hankton was recruiting Louisiana at Georgia.
Right.
And Frank Wilson, obviously was in Louisiana, but he wasn't recruiting the same list of kids at McNeese that he, a lot of them are new names to him.
Right. So,
and of course, those two are actually, I guess sharing New Orleans, or they're going to double team New Orleans. But like on Saturday, you see Caden Jones, the offensive lineman that was there.
Right.
And he was offered by the previous staff. But, when I saw him last year, De La Salle in that jamboree at Ponchatoula, against Brother Martin, I thought he was a project. But I wonder if that's the type of
lineman, Mike, that we watched.
Yeah, he's about 6'6",
right.
But he doesn't carry any bad weight, and he's one of those kids that you might poo-poo now, but by the time he's 20, 21, so
you're gonna wish you took him.
Yeah, if you're only going to be allowed 25 in this class, maybe if something falls through on signing day, he would be one that you would take last minute. But if you're going to get a 25 plus 7 again, then maybe all of a sudden an LSU and some other Power 5 schools will take a flyer on a Caden Jones. But that's always been the deal. I know that under Ed Orgeron and Miles, it was one of these deals where it got to the point where the offensive line was such a focus, you couldn't afford to take a flyer on a kid that wouldn't give you anything for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And so, but if you get a 25 plus 7 and he's a good student, and he doesn't carry in a bad weight, you just got to get him stronger and more mature. he's definitely going to be a one. You see him there on Saturday. You got to believe they're going to have him in June camp.
Mike, did you read the Dellinger piece today by chance? Just because?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so it would seem that they're going. The 25 is pretty much inevitably gone per Ross. Now I have no idea about that, but it's to get back to the 85. I know you probably have thought about this before now because it's kind of been out the last month or so. Does that help or hurt teams? It seems like it helps them because of the portal, but what happens to the state of Louisiana and LSU if you're able to take maybe 5, 6, 7 of the lesser recruited guys or star guys that you weren't going after?
What is he saying about the 25 being out?
That it's gone, that basically it would be unlimited. The only thing is you would have to get back to the 85 scholarship. So
you have to have 85 in August. Is that what he's saying?
Correct. So there's a deadline. Let's just call it August the 1st. Okay. By August the 1st, you're recruiting for the previous year stops, and then the next season starts, right? So you have until August the 1st to recruit all of these kids and bring them on campus, whatever. And the way that I understand it is that there is no limit. So if you're LSU in 2019 and you lose 25, 26, 27 kids, and then you have some other kids opt out, transfer, or whatever, you can go and get 35 to 38. There's no limit. So how does that affect the state of Louisiana from a high school level?
I'd like to see what the asterisks are on that.
Has to be seen.
But I'm also thinking what schools would vote against that? Because I think whether you're a mid-major or a Power 5, they're all in the same predicament because of the transfer portal. I guess the thing you want to get away from is if you're trying to get to that 85, that you start having coaches start to cull kids and not renewing scholarships. That's why I want to see what the asterisks are. The processing.
Right. I agree that it was just the perception I got from Ross now.
But that would make sense. That would make sense because I'm starting to wonder at some point, do they start letting you? Is the number going to go from 85 to 90? I know Poling, when I asked him that question a few months ago, said he didn't think that the 85 would ever get raised.
Well, I think it should. I mean, but again, with the portal, if you're going to let the portal be the way that it is, you got to do something for schools. I mean, you can't just. Anyway.
Yeah, and then if it ever would get to 90 and you're the NCAA and you're dropping some sanctions on a school, all of a sudden, what is that number you start hitting them with to make it sting? It ain't just 2. You got to start making it 6, 7, 8.
Hell, Mike, it might get in the double digits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll fire in your questions to Mike. #ask Mike. Mike, look, I don't take too hell of a lot of a spring game because I know that you've been at practice every day. And you've done more footage and breakdown of them just at practice and of the game. As a collective unit, what would you think that you've been the most surprised about just this entire spring, not just the spring game?
I kind of think everything went to form. I mean, I would have liked to seen Bernard Converse out there, obviously, because that's affecting how you view the cornerbacks right now.
Right.
But I still maintain what I've been saying for months, that I think the offensive line spot's going to be a lot better, a lot quicker than people think. And certainly Will Campbell coming in, doing what he's doing, and Cam Wire moved out right. And then when you get Dellinger back 100%, and then I think one of the biggest things that it dawned on me today, obviously we know about Butte and Bernard Converse, but one of the biggest positives, which there were a lot of them in spring football, was that LSU avoided the catastrophic injury. That there was nobody lost that's not going to be able to play in the 22 season. Anybody that got nicked up or dinged up or had something, it's all something that's fixable, and they'll be 100% by August.
Yeah, and I saw 2 guys at Georgia, like MCL, PCL. I mean, they got battered and beat to hell. I mean, I think that you're right there. Mike, last night I said, 2 more, Mike, and we'll get out of here. I said last night that the running back room probably surprised me the most, the way that they ran the football. I love Kevin Falk to death. I really do. But is it because you have an experience of maybe a Frank Wilson who's been coaching that position much longer, why you see those guys maybe jump up a little bit more, or maybe it's just these guys developing and having their time, and now they're here and ready to go?
Man, it could be every factor under the moon. It could be a positive attitude. It could be attention to detail. It can be the offensive line getting better.
Right.
It can be the want, the want to, or the chest, whatever there's a lot of components as to why you can think these things. It's all starting to come together. But but you can see where the foundation's getting laid. The way we're talking, the way fans are talking. That you're gonna have some LSU fans come mid-August that all of a sudden are gonna start talking crazy one-loss records.
Oh,
it's coming.
They're already doing it. Zach, fire in some questions for Mike very quickly, and then we'll get him on out of here. LSU still up at the plate. I think it's 1-0. I thought they scored, but Jerry Zimmerson says hashtag Ask Mike. You got a good vibe about Trey Holly's situation.
Yes.
How you feel about Trey?
Yes, I do. And that kid is amazing. It's one of you obviously we know his stature and his size, and you see what he did in the Superdome and his highlight tape. But when you really see him in street clothes and shorts and a T-shirt, it's even more of an amazing, just how, I don't want to use the word tiny, but the kid's build. Like when you see how tall he is and how compact he is and how durable he is for that size, it's something else. But that's one right there where LSU's done a fantastic job. So he's the guy that I put is my prediction on Saturday. Mm-hmm. So is it tomorrow? Is it next week? I don't know, but I don't think the timetable is very long. And but then you turn that around, and you're talking about the running back from Houston this weekend,
right?
And but what does that do for Caleb Jackson? Tommy Robinson's trying to raid Baton Rouge 2 years in a row for A&M.
Yeah, I don't know. Firing, and we'll pick that one up when that one gets closer for sure. LGZ says hashtag Ask Mike. Considering we've already signed 2 safety, and it looks like we are in a good position for our. I can't say the kid's last name. Where do you think we stand with Derek Williams? But the AG kid, that's the kid out of Georgia, I believe. But where do we stand with Derek Williams?
Yeah, I want to see more of. I want to see more of Derek Williams making his way to Baton Rouge for visits.
Now, he did put on social media, Mike, very quickly that he was at a prom and why he didn't go to the spring game. So everybody freaking out goes, guys, I'm in a limousine.
And by the way, and the thing about Derek Williams is that because he's not a Twitter look at me guy,
you don't know what's going on.
All the conspiracy theories with him are able to fester and grow because he doesn't do a whole lot of interviews. He's shy. He's not a guy that needs 18 social media posts a day to feel like a whole human being.
Right. Well, last one. Fire, because they keep coming in. Let's just give them one more. Bruce Steele says hashtag Ask Mike. If Louisiana kids start committing now, won't LSU take them first? I mean, I'm sure that they would take some of them first. I mean, that's all Brian Kelly's been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, any kid right now that's got a committable offer, LSU is a take. It's not a matter of who comes in first and wanting out-of-state kids to pull the trigger now. If they've got a committable offer, they got a committable offer because they've got them slotted on their board, and they've got a pretty darn good idea about how, in their ideal scenario, the recruiting class is going to play out in the coming months.
Mike, I just want to tell you, as the last thing and part of our show, thank you so much. And if Brian Kelly lands a top 5 recruiting class to Notre Dame fans and alum and media, I'm going to be unbearable. I'm just letting everybody know. I'm letting you and the good Lord Savior Jesus Christ know I'm going to be unbearable.
I think the only thing that's going to catch him is him. He was joking all spring long about the heat and it feeling like San Diego. And August will be. I said, no, get ready. It's going to be June. It's going to hit you hard in June. But I think he's really taken LSU. I was never one that I always thought it was silly if anybody thought he couldn't recruit to LSU because that's with his ability to communicate. And when a parent sits across the desk from him, that's over.
Right.
But the other part of it was the culture shock and the fish out of water part of it. That's the one that I just knew. I mean, now he's buying a house. He's figured out, he knows the rule to be within a mile of campus. He's got a beautiful home that's on the LSU lakes. He can host parties there. They were supposed to host them Friday. I don't know what happened. There was something that wasn't ready, or I don't know if they could get catering there or what, but there was something supposed to happen at his house on Friday with the recruits, and it didn't for whatever reason. So it looked like they commandeered the building across the street. That was that balcony shot of him with Burrow and chasing them, which, he ought to basically go in there and throw his weight around and say, "This is now mine," because that's a great shot. You can host wine and cheese parties, whatever he wants to do up there, keg parties,
LSU events.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that building supposed to be TAF? It's got a different name on it.
I don't know.
I forget. I'm walking by the signage on that building. I know initially it was, I think TAF's offices are in there, but the name on the building is something else.
No, because it's their name's on the building, but it's not. It doesn't seem occupied though.
Yeah, that balcony shot that needs to be where in regular use.
I would definitely do it. That's for dang sure. Mike Scarborough, TigerBait.com. Mike, you got a lot of stuff popping up on YouTube, your website. Tell everybody where they can find it. And where,
go to Tiger Bait right now. Right, like you said, right before we went on, I got a full-blown Dante Moore update, and I'm going to have even more of one tomorrow. But the one that was posted tonight is a lot to chew on, and there's a bigger one coming tomorrow morning. So you want to go to Tiger Bait, subscribe, and use your promo code AYS30, and you'll get 30 days for $1. And we love the guys from your show that come over, because I think we've got like a 96% retention rate. So they're once they get on Tiger Bait, they love it. They're going to get the text alerts, the newsletters, and I'm about to hit the road. We're going to be hitting all these spring scrimmages and spring practices for high school.
That's what I was going to ask you too, but we'll save it for another time. I saw people on Twitter saying Coach House and Denbrock. I'm seeing it all over Twitter. Thank you, Mike Denbrock. Thank you, Matt House, for showing up. And it's kind of like, say, bro, where you at? But they're deep in Louisiana. They're in the bayou, it seemed like, Matt House.
Yeah, and by the way, when I talk to Notre Dame people, Denbrock is a recruiter, man.
Oh, Mike, just go search on Twitter, Mike Denbrock.
Yeah, and the tight ends love him.